We're live, Mr. Wade. I yield back to you, sir.
Good night. Good night to our Belizean public, both at home and abroad. Again, welcome to our 103rd edition of Belizean Affairs on a blessed
Two,
Monday.
200 and 203rd.
203rd, sorry,
Yes,
203rd,
sir.
203. Wow. We we actually came a long way with this program compared to the last one and this one, Leonard. We came a long way on this Belizean Affairs show.
Yes, sir. Thanks to
And
you and Greg
that's
and the rest of
what
our listeners.
it's all about. Um, as always, Leonard, we to our viewers and listeners, and I want to thank them, Leonard. I want to thank all our viewers. I want to thank them from the sincerity, the bottom of our hearts. Thank
Yes,
them
sir.
for
Very much so.
viewing and sharing and giving us that support and helping to spread the news, spread the message, spread the love, right? Because we are about people, a nation, nothing else, nothing else. So I want to thank always. It's always a pleasure to sit in your company, Leonard and Gregory, which I think is in the background, and he's the chairman for tonight. But he will probably show up in a little bit. But the show must go on, Leonard. So,
Yes, sir.
on that note, I want to ask you graciously, my brother, to please lead us in a prayer.
Definitely, Mr. Wade. I'll just bow my head for a short time and say a short prayer. Um, Divine, loving Father, thou who art our Creator, thou who art the Creator of heaven and earth and all that in them are, into thine hands we commend ourselves, asking that thou would continue to hear our prayers or supplications for our family members, our friends and loved ones, wherever they are, that thou would continue to hear our supplication on behalf of our country of Belize, its people and leadership as well, and that thou mayst also hear our prayers on behalf of the United States of America, its people and leadership, and particularly and especially on behalf of the rest of humanity, those people who are in areas where there's wars, those people, some of whom are being killed for no justifiable reason, those who are suffering from earthquake, tornadoes, hurricane, volcano eruptions, and all manner of pestilence and evil things on the face of this earth. We pray that thou mayst have mercy upon us and give us some reprieve. We pray that thou mayst bless each and every one of our loved ones as if thou knowest them by name and number. Please continue to abide with us, give us health, strength, courage, perseverance, protection, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and the fortitude to speak truth to power when needed, loving Father. For we ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Leonard, for that one prayer which the world needs a little prayer. You know, like we always said, Leonard, we are not preachers. We are not in church every day or every week, like some do. But we here on this program acknowledge and know that there is a God,
Amen.
and without Him, nothing is possible. And for sure, tomorrow is promised to no one. So, Leonard, I will continue with our program with a reading from again Ecclesiastes. I'll continue on Ecclesiastes. I go chapter 8, 1 to 10. It reads, "Who is like the wise, and who knows the interpretation of things? A man's wisdom makes his face shine, and the hardness of his face is change. I say, keep the king's command, because of God's oath to him. Be
Amen.
not hasty to go from his presence. Do not take your stand in an evil case, for he does whatever he pleases. For the word of the king is supreme, and who may say to him, what are you doing? Whoever keeps a command will know no evil things, and the wise heart will know the proper time and the just way. For there is a time and a way for everything. Although man's trouble lies heavy on him, for he does not know what is to be, for who can tell him how it will be? No man has power to retain the spirit, or power over the day of death. There is no discharge from war, nor will wickedness deliver those who are given to it. All this I observe while applying my heart to all that is done under the sun. When man had power over man to, to hurt to his hurt, then I saw the wicked buried. They used to go in and out of the holy place and were praised in the city where they had done such things. This also is vanity, because the sentence against an evil deed is not executed speedily. The heart of the children of man is fully set to do evil. That's my reading from Ecclesiastes 8 1 to 10. Uh, Leonard, there's a lot going on in our country, Leonard, and we speak on things that happens and that are unjust, or there are ills in our country. We speak about it, but
Yes, sir.
at times we always remember the outer world because there's a lot going on, like you said in your prayer. You pray for those who have been affected, whether voluntarily or involuntary, right? And it's an ongoing situation. Um, we here on this program tonight again. We want to pray for a speedy recovery for the people that suffered last hurricane in Florida, and a lot of destruction. And we pray for South Floridians again because there is another hurricane destined to hit again tomorrow by Wednesday in Florida. So we pray for minimal damage. We pray for it just blow in and blow out, and no one suffers. And again, we always give a sober reminder, Leonard, to our people here at home in Belize that we are still in the hurricane season, and that we must not let our guards down, because the hurricane season will never go away. It will keep coming. And we know what happens when a storm or a hurricane hits this country. There are some that perishes and punish and keep punishing because of politics, political affiliation. If you are not affiliated to the political party that is in power whenever that storm hits, you will not get anything. Vice versa, if you from the next party, you gotta wait until they're in power so you can get something, and that so you can pick up the pieces and move on. We have seen the destruction on the last hurricane. There are still people out there, Leonard, that was heavily affected, and as up to this day, as I speak, they have not gotten not one nail. But
It's a shame.
that's the nature of the beast.
It's a shame,
And
Mr.
yet,
Chairman.
yes, it is, Leonard. And yet, Leonard, they go publicly and for grandstanding in the house and for the world to hear them with the venom. They have helped everyone. That's the message that they send. When they know darn well it's a lie, but they keep doing it anyway. So at some point in their life, I hope that, they would realize the evil that they do and ask for repentance and forgiveness.
Amen.
Because whatever is done here, you got to pay right here before you leave this sinful earth. Here and nowhere else. So I say this to say that we never know, Leonard, what's in the future, what's going to happen if we are going to be hit with another storm. That's why I say this, that the people that are not affiliated with this ruling party, and the ones that are not affiliated with any party, they must, be vigilant and take heed and prepare themselves as much as they can. So, so that, when that time comes, say you're not to run like a chicken with the head cut off, right? And I emphasize again that we are not out of COVID. COVID is still alive and well in this country. The government tried to keep it hush hush because there is no more money. Right? They're not getting any big check to keep COVID down. So they don't worry anymore. But COVID is still alive and well in this country.
And people need to be
And
cautious.
yes,
Definitely
I
need to be
ask
cautious.
that, the drivers that use the highways and byways be mindful because, again, I stress there are too many fatalities every day, every other day, twice a week, 3 times a week. Every other day there's a fatality, right? Whether it's on a motorbike or a bus loaded with passengers or private vehicles. Be mindful. Don't drink and drive. Don't be texting and driving. Be very observant on the road because our highways are in deplorable state, right? Deplorable. So, be mindful and help to reduce, minimize these accidents. And I call on the government to do better in the road maintenance. Stop putting those quick fixes, those band-aids in those holes, the white mall in those big holes, because Mr. Government, if you don't know, Minister of Works, if you don't know, stress to your workmen that when the rain and the water touch the white mall, what happened? It turns to milky water, right? it just gushes out again. So I urge you, Mr. Minister of Works, do the right thing, right? And stop putting quick band-aids, quick fixes like you all are accustomed to. Stop doing that because
Mr.
it's
Chairman,
not working.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I've noticed that in Corozal they put a little white malt in the holes, and as soon as the rain comes, the rain washes it out, and
Exactly.
the traffic splashes it on the side of the street, fills up the drainage with it, and then the drain get plugged up, and where streets don't have drainage, it's a sad situation. But anyhow, I'll yield back, so I was just trying to
So
point that
true,
out in
sir.
addition to what you were saying,
So true.
what I just observed.
Yes, so true. These are real things, Leonard, that we know they talk nothing out of space. I mean, these things are real, right? I say, Mr. Minister, if you're gonna do 1 mile of road, do it good, so you don't have to come back again, right? But stop cutting corners. It's not your money, not the government in power money, the party money. It's the taxpayers' money. Always remember that, Mr. Ministers. We know they spend on their own money. So why continue to cut corners just to put some extra in your pocket? The taxpayers is already paying you your salary, hefty salary too, that you do not deserve, do not earn, but you get it anyway. I'm not talk about when time Christmas they wrong the economy because I don't get one. Hefty Christmas cheers and call it Christmas cheers. Shouldn't be chairs, should be Christmas table. The taxpayers set a table for you. Thousands of dollars that you don't have to account
Agree.
for. You don't have to say how much you give Mary and how much you give John if you do give them anything, right? You don't have to do that. So, so all those that say, oh, my minister the work and my minister the this and my minister, we don't need to stop that. What you need to do is say thanks to the taxpayers of this country, right? That is paying their taxes so that they can squander it. That's what you should say, right? I will not continue anymore because we have the chairman in the back there and he's ready to roll. Welcome, Greg.
Good
Thank
night,
you,
Greg.
Mr. Wade. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night, sir.
It's always a pleasure sitting with you guys virtually and dealing here on our platform, our 203rd episode of Belizean Affair. Good night to the people at home and abroad. Mr. Wade, I was in the background there listening to your conversation about the consolidated funds, that is our taxes. But these people abuses our taxes, give away concession to private entities. Now general election is coming, as you can see from the state of the nation speech, wants to give away tax breaks. No, I call it a different method like campaign financing to buy votes.
To get the kickback
So
first,
this
so
is
you can buy the
what
votes.
we are getting at now.
Mr. Chairman,
Government is finding a new way how to buy votes using tax breaks to get the people who work for them and the people, the young voters at the BPOs who we know will not be making over $30,000 will get a tax break, will not pay no tax. Campaign financing to the young people. Gentlemen, tonight I want to go back and people at home and abroad to this compulsory takeover of the Feinstein property. As we have said here on more than one occasion, when the government using compulsory takeover in the name of people, taxpayers' money should be used
Expose.
for the taxpayer. But when you have a government who wants to take over from private citizens for a private corporation, it does not fall under compulsory takeover or eminent domain. And I will tell you why. Because the public will have nothing to gain from it. It will be the private entity who will have the most to gain. And how can the people gain when tax concessions have already been given up for these types of projects? I go to you first, Mr. Brackett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm really, really concerned about this particular topic, and I think I'm highly justified in my descriptive way of these. I shouldn't say these good gentlemen because they're not gentlemen and they're not good. But these individuals whom the people, the plebiscite, have voted for and entrust them with the powers of governance of our country. I describe them as a bunch of kleptocratic mafias operating under the guise of a duly elected government. And a lot of people would probably disagree with me with my description. First of all, they would probably need to, in order to be justified in disagreeing with me, they would have to have an urge and or the need to go and find the meaning of those words that I'm actually using to describe these gentlemen. Because only then will they realize that I'm correct in my assessment and my description, and that my description fits their conduct or behavior. To start with, if they wanted to get involved in some kind of a business, such as taking over under eminent domain any private entity, they should not wait for the teachers and or other civil service or other entities to sue them in order for them to have the court do a review of their declaration of a public interest and or acquiring under public domain. Because by any stretch of the imagination, those constitutional descriptive categories are vested in the court to declare, not the government. The government might have an interest in wanting to have that declared as such, but they know where the streets, the avenues, the roads come from and lead to, and they know how to get there if they really want to go there constitutionally. But these jackals don't wish to abide by our constitution, which is the problem. They want to do just about what they want to do, pretend that there's no constitutional constraints, and or that if anybody wants to stop them, then they have to take them to court rather than for them to follow the proper procedures and protocols and do things right. They have a super majority in the House. They can get just about anything pass when it comes to administrative issues. But by the same token, they just cannot create willy-nilly law and bogus processes to justify stealing from one Belizean his property or his asset or his company or whatever on their eminent domain. Because to do so means that then they're empowering themselves as the government to take possession of that local Belizean's property in good faith, of course, for a public interest and public good. What public interest and public good will serve them stealing from one Belizean its property and handing it over to a non-Belizean just so some of them could get a little kickback on the side? Subordinate the governance, our governance power, which belongs to us, not themselves, by the way. They take the power vested in them that we entrust to them and use it against us and give all these hundreds of millions of dollars worth of concession to these mega corporations who give a little kickback to them for their political campaigning, which is why they don't want to have any rules for political campaign controls. They don't want nobody to know where their money is coming from, how much they're spending, you know. They don't want to meet no compliance that allow the general public to really understand how they operate. But I don't want to divert the show into that particular part of the conversation. I want to stay with the issue of them violating our constitution and bullyragging the process and giving the people, misinforming the people as to the idea that they have some rights, power vested in them, and justification that they are authorized to take private people's property, which the Constitution says they're not supposed to be dealing with in the first place, and or even take it onto themselves to belong to the people and country of Belize. That's what eminent domain is. The power of the people and the country vested through our governance authority and our governance functions by executive means, and as well or House of Representative authority, which of course they have a supermajority, so they can get just about anything authorized there. But they cannot just go ahead and take private people property under the guise that it belongs to us, and we have no authority or control over it, or own not even one share in it. That's a red herring. That's a travesty. That's a farce. That's a lie. That's a false declaration for which the court is empowered to finally make a ruling on. According to these guys, they have gone ahead and make all the moves to take this person, take Mr. Feinstein's property from him under the bogus state of emergency, not state of emergency, I forgot the term. I just used it just now. But the idea that they can take it for eminent domain purposes, and then it doesn't belong to the country, or it doesn't belong to the Belizean people. But all powers are the means by which they use to acquire it. That's an illegitimate act, and the court should be given its rightful place in our system to rule as to whether or not that will be allowed to stand or not. But the way these guys are rolling is that they could care less what the court says, because they have already done their deed, dastardly deed at that, and therefore there's nothing that the public or anybody else can do about reversing what they apparently are stipulating that they have done. Why? Because according to them, they have supreme powers. They forget the Supreme Court, they forget the supreme law of our land. The supreme powers of our country is in their hand, according to them, and how they want the people to accept that premise, which is not correct. They are bamboozling the process, they are power playing the process, and they are misinforming and misguiding the people and the country, which is why they want to take us into this so-called Belizean um, um, republic, because according to them, under the Belizean Republic status, they will have their own head of state elected among themselves, and then they can then go ahead and do what they're not doing illegally with the legal authority of the head of state then. And they can change the constitution to whatever is it that pleases their heart. Then, but not now. Belize is still a Belize country of democracy, of laws, and we're still under the Commonwealth. We still have a head of state that is not Mr. Briceño or any of his minions. So why is it that all local Belizean people are falling for this kind of shenanigans? It doesn't make sense. Because I think all people are smart enough to recognize what's going on. But they don't feel themselves empowered enough to do anything about it. And that's unfortunate. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Greg?
Thank you, Mr. Brackett, Mr. Wade.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, and well said there, Leonard. Um, let's look at a little
Welcome,
bit
sir.
on the inception of this whole port situation, right? Where how this came about. Um, you it's public knowledge how it came about. It's public knowledge to see what that man did in the house with that a contract that the UDP had given to one of the
Mr. Mr.
individuals.
Wade? Mr. Wade? Can I ask that maybe you don't say that the UDP had given, because in truth, we speak truth on this program, right? And we're sticklers for the truth. And by saying it that way, maybe what you're intending to say is correct, but by saying it that way, you're conflating or allowing for mischief making on the part of those who believe that it would have been like that. The UDP as a party and or as a government did not authorize or give that concession. It was done, it was a subordinated side deal that that gentleman as a minister then pulled off while the government was in transition. At this point in time, we all do know, well, at least most of us should know what the details and the facts were behind the whole of that transaction. So I don't want to take up much more time. I want to go back to yielding back to you, but I just wanted to clarify the point that it's unfortunate if we were to give the people out there the idea, or leave people out there with the idea, UDP as a party and or as a government had authorized that bastardization of our constitutional prerogatives. It was sanctioned and attempted to be carried through by the PUP under the idea that they were faulting the UDP as a government because of that one minister having gone here. But I think I'm repeating myself, and I don't wish to do that and take up much more of your time. But I just wanted to bring to your attention that the way we pronounce that particular statement leads to mischief making, because it's not true.
It's
Sir, I yield back.
it's public knowledge.
Sorry,
It's
Mr.
public
Wade,
knowledge to
Mr.
see
Wade, just a
how
second.
the contract came about with Mr. Contreras.
Yes, sir, but just a second.
Right?
It
It's
is your
public knowledge to
prerogative.
see what he did in the house, and he tear that up. The Briceño guy tear that up.
Mr. Wade,
Okay, and
Mr.
then
Wade, one second, Mr. Wade. I don't want, Mr. Wade, I don't wish that anybody get the impression that I'm trying to step on you.
oh no. Everybody is entitled to their own.
The rules are, yes, sir. The rules are that we all have a right to stipulate and or to make our own decisions and or speak. We're free to speak and free to say what we want to say. But I was just trying to, for clarity's sake, put the two things: what you said, what you were saying, and what the actual circumstances were. They go together so people can then make their own decision or their own mind as to how to interpret. No, but again, I'm sorry, and I'd like to apologize to you personally.
But anyway,
for the time allowed.
Yes. Anyway, we see how that baby was born.
Yes, sir.
Right. That's the long story short. You see how that baby was born. You see what the man Briseno did in the house. He tear up that, and this is no good, and I will go back and I will make it better. And he tear it up for the world to see. Which that was a copy. Had what he tear up, it wasn't a real contract, a copy,
Mm-hmm.
right? But he inflated that, and he so you run with that, however you want to run with that, right? So, but anyway, so and then you hear the man Ashcroft says that it's all about a retirement gig, right? That's what I'm just giving a little based on the right. So, Mr. Chairman and Leonard, you hear the man say, well, we went do better. What he went? He draft up. Well, we don't actually see nothing. They just try to wash it under the bridge now, right? And he give so much tax break and more than what the man Contreras from the UDP had in the first one that he had tore up. He give the man more gifts, right? So we all see how that baby came about. Now we new one now with the company from down south, go for a border.
Feinstein? Or the other one?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
So
Up
it's
south,
all
what
about
do they call
money. Now
themselves?
they're getting some more money now, doing another deal with this another company, right? And they
So no
bamboozling
acres of.
Feinstein.
So,
You want to say something, Leonard? Go ahead.
no, no, sir, no, sir. No, I
Yes.
wish you still
So
sorry.
they
Sorry.
bamboozling Feinstein. But before that, he bamboozled Ashcroft, the
Mm-hmm.
money man.
Mm-hmm.
What he did with Ashcroft. Ashcroft on the calf. And somebody maybe had mentioned Sue. And what he did, call
Something to sue.
Ashcroft, and a whole lot of new thing happened, and Ashcroft get more money.
$400 million.
More money. So they swing along this project again, Mr. Chairman, and Leonard. So more money now from another company from where the man Martinez come from, where he was born, right?
Honduras.
The big man in the Ministry of Finance,
Honduras.
the area representative for my hometown,
Right.
down south. So you see what these people
Toledo.
do. What do they do for a living? Right? All they do is sit, get into
Big,
power,
the
and
big
think
hustle.
about how they
The
could
big hustle.
big hustle. They think about how they could distribute the people's natural resources and get some money off it. That is exactly what is playing out right now because Mr. Feinstein, for all I know and you know and we don't know what kind of backdoor and in office dealing they happen right now and in a closed door meeting right now. That will not see the light of day in court. They will settle with Mr.
Mr. Chairman,
Feinstein.
you got that
And
right.
again, my people, it's not this how these people do business. But yet we so lucky, we still asleep. We still lock into a red, we lock into a blue, so whatever they do to us, it's all okay. My party. So sad reality, right? But what I'm saying is, long story short, is that Mr. Chairman, and in my view, that's not gonna reach the court. They're gonna settle again with and whoever else come about with another suit. You know who they want, who they will drag in the mud and all the upper and lower courts and all the courts in this land and out of this land. They will drag anyone that sues them, take them to court for not doing their job, for not calling up to their responsibility to people and nation. For instance, in doing with district kin, right? See how they bamboozle these group of private citizens who spend their own money, not the taxpayers' money, to tell the government what you are not doing, that what you're supposed to be doing, and having them in court. You see what happened? So these are the people that this government and past government will take to court to the full extent.
Mm-hmm.
And which money will they use to fight these same Belizean, banned Belizean, who want justice, who want some equal representation? It's the same taxpayers' money they're gonna use. So these people, in my personal view, Mr. Chairman, I think at some point before they leave this sinful earth, all those who are involved doing these injustice to the nation and people, at some point they should be held accountable. Whether they're 90, and I say it again, 99, 209, if they have to wheel them in court in a gurney or in a hospital bed, they need to face justice, man. Right? Because they're doing some grave injustice to this country and its people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I got to say on that, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Leonard. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Mr.
Go
Chairman, may
ahead,
I have
sir.
a second crack at that same before we leave it? I want to say here tonight on this particular show and this particular subject matter, it's not the last time we're going to deal with this, by the way, because there's a lot of other things that has gone along with the water that went under the bridge that has not been fleshed out or dealt with. So we will have probably a need to come back and revisit this particular subject matter at further dates and occasions. But for right now, I wish to stipulate here and now, as far as I can proceed, this is not Mr. Wade talking or Mr. Wade's perception, or he has no culpability in what I'm about to say. Neither does my cousin or chairman for tonight has any culpability in what I'm about to say. Each and every one of us are entitled to, as the Constitution says, our own verbal means of communication, written communication, or speech, or right to advocate to one another and or other people, as the Constitution also stipulates. So I'm going to say what I have to say before going any further and making any additional qualification. The bottom line is I'm about to say it and I might as well just get on with it. This Mr. Feinstein project, as we currently know it to be, the man apparently had an outstanding loan from one of the bank, one of his bankers, by the way, at the time, for about $50 million, thereabout, in the vicinity. The government took back the port from Mr. Ashcroft because it actually belonged to us, it wasn't his, and he wanted to put so much of his money in there so he can claim that his money is in it, therefore he wants to continue controlling it. And somehow the government saw the light of day, as we have been saying for so many months in the past, and went ahead and got back our port, and we were happy for that. But they were also trying to stop Mr. Ashcroft because Mr. Briseno is pissed off at Mr. Ashcroft because Mr. Ashcroft took a majority share out of Smart Internet and Telephone Company, which the Briseno family used to own majority shares. So they were agreed with Mr. Um, Ashcroft for having done that, and so therefore decided to buy him out, settle with him for money that the man had not earned or did not deserve in the first place. But they were using our treasury, so to them it wasn't a hard deal to crack or to make. It was easy for them to suborn our treasury and pay off this man under all outstanding contracts, which include quite a few PUP contracts with the man money, not the money that he gave them as he gave UDP as well, but money that he loaned them that they could not come up with the money to pay back. That is what some of the, what they constituted in the house when the term and the phrase was stipulated, all outstanding accounts that they settled with the man for. We beat them down on Portico as well, and as a result, Portico itself was blocked off by some of the very cabinet members then, and has been held in abeyance so far, being worked on behind the scene with not much success so far. So then they resorted, which, as I stipulated earlier, part of Portico operation included interest that our Prime Minister had in the Portico affair, which is why he was willing to subordinate the whole of we governance system into bringing Portico about, despite knowing that, as the British lawyer had already stipulated to him, and that the or Attorney General at the time had stipulated to him, that that matter could not fly and should not fly, and we should distance ourselves from it and have nothing to do with it because it was not constitutional or legal in the first place. But that because of the interest that they had in it, they were hoping that Cabinet would have went ahead blindly, because they didn't tell Cabinet all the facts, which then after later came out. They wanted Cabinet to just rubber stamp that matter to take it to the House where they had their super majority, which would have also had passed, and then would have left us, the Belizean people, on the hook for a contract given to a foreign entity to operate, where that foreign entity could hold us over a barrel like the Ashcroft organizations they always do, in case they couldn't make success of their venture. Nevertheless, all of that happened, and we have that historically in the past. All the commentary that we did on those in the past, all of which other people had done in the past in regards to those matters, and therefore they decided to put those issues aside, and long before they went ahead and tried to take away Mr. Feinstein project, they were suborning the man's project, trying to get other people to tamper with the man's project. They were even messing with the banks and telling the banks that, oh, the bank loaned the man money that belonged to other private people, putting a threat over the bank head for further banking investigation by our central bank and our authorities here in the country, in Belize, for example. So, months before the man project was put into receivership, against his own will, by the way, they never give the man an option or an opportunity to redeem himself and or to get another banker to support him. They had the need to get involved with another port, because one way or another, a port is needed in the country, at least not this one in southern Belize, but one that is closer to Belize City was needed. And while they were telling Portico that they would have no other port within 25 miles of Belize, when Portico deal went awry, they realized that the Feinstein deal was still a viable and valid option to create a port. They want to slap the man project out of their hand. So they operate with the bank, put pressure on the bank, and try to get the bank to declare bankruptcy on the gentleman, because he could not come up with another bank to work with his current bank to stave off this bank from putting him into receivership. And he could not come up with the money to keep the project going successfully. So what they did, this other Honduran company decided that, well, before that, the same receivership that they put on the man project turned around and went, and the man owed approximately, like I said, about $50 million to the bank. The receivership took control of the project and went and borrowed money against the man project to the tune of almost $150 million, which was about 3 times what the man had outstanding as a loan, and was having difficulty meeting. So how then the hell the man be able to meet one superimposed extra loan by the administrators then against the man will? Then put the man in a debt 3 times deeper than you were before. And then the Honduran company, they decided they want to take over the man project, and they got additional support behind them, big enough money that could actually pay off Mr. Feinstein the 100 million where he asked for the settlement. Because he saw what's going on. He realized that he will not be able to fight the government and all these other entities, money entities. So he's putting himself in a situation where now he's demanding a settlement from them, because they have to settle with him one way or another for that project to be legally taken away from him and controlled by the government and or by the other foreign company. They have to get him out of the way, and the only way they can get him out of the way legally is to suborn him, pay him what he wants.
You froze up there, Mr. Chairman. So you want to? You got frozen there, Mr. Chairman. Your mic is off, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. I believe that this compulsory takeover by the government will not fly. I will tell you why. The court will intervene, and the court will slap the bond that they took, and they will tell them that the bond that the government took will not favor the people, it will favor the developer. Because let me say this, and I will put a skull banner. When it comes to public use, this is what public use is. As a general rule, a public purpose has for its objective the promotion of public health, safety, morale, general welfare, security, prosperity, and contentment of all the inhabitants or residents. That is what public purpose is. And I am saying this to say, government beware, because if you don't know, there are cases out there that can guide you. And here is one. People at home and abroad, go ahead and look up this case. Anderson versus Bear. And you will find where the court did not go along with the government when they took over under eminent domain and tried to use public use. They will overturn it. And not only that, as I said before, and I will keep saying it, if the government wanted to use private investors for public interest. What they needed to do was amended the Eminent Domain Act. That is what they should have done. If anyone goes and read the Eminent Domain Act where it says public use, it is telling you right there what falls under public use. Roads, hospitals, anything for utility, etc. Fire station, schools, parks. It is right there. Go look it up and you will find exactly what it is saying. Now, as I mentioned before, right, the only way the government could have done this is to amend the Eminent Domain Act. And I go to you, Mr. Brackett. You were cut off just now.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
I want to finish what I was saying before, but if I can remember, I'll go back to that. I want to stick with the point that you just raised just now. The government may and can, could, but shouldn't try to change the law as you propounded just now, because it will not make an illegal act a legal constitutional binding amendment to the constitutional act itself. I'll point out why. First of all, it is already stipulated and known that the intent of the government is to facilitate, use the governance powers to create or exercise policies of state incorrectly. Remember what the Constitution says about the government implementing policies of state to subserve the interests of the Belizean people. That is under which the category of eminent domain falls. Whatever is going to subsist and serve the interests of the Belizean people, not a private entity. The governance powers and the government authority is not supposed to be subordinated to the interests of private entities. It is supposed to be subordinated to the interests of the public and public interest. Going back to the point that you just mentioned about changing the laws, they can, they could, they probably would, but they should not. Why? If the matter goes to court, which I doubt it ever will, by the way, because that's the point where I left off earlier when I got off the show, when I was knocked off the show. If the government wants to take over anything under eminent domain, they have to do that with the consideration that they're using public powers, public authority, governance powers and authority. They're using the constitutional constraints that are allowed to them under the system of governance that we have in Belize. And we are a country of laws. So if the government is going to stipulate that they want to take away a private person's property and not do so for us, the public, for us to own it and control it and have an interest or shares in it, then they are committing malfeasance in governance, and they are actually bamboozling and bullywhigging the process. Because they cannot then say, yes, we're taking it back on the eminent domain, but because we want to facilitate a third party, which is a private entity, that we, the government, having gotten involved and used our powers to commit the dastardly deed, will have no benefit derived from. That is, that the third party will derive all the benefits of the government intervention. That's bull. That's hogwash. A different term. It cannot stand legally. No court locally should allow it to stand. And I'm quite sure that under international laws or Caribbean Court of Justice will not allow it to stand, because then it will look that they will have egg on their face for exercising malfeasance themselves to back up such judicial temperament. Because any such judicial temperament does not hold muster in terms of international law. You cannot have a government step in the breach, step on some private entity who is doing business in their country on behalf of another third entity who is another private entity. It should not be able to fly. But I'm saying this because at the end of the day, as I stipulated earlier as well, I do not expect this matter to end up in court because, first of all, Mr. Feinstein has already gotten to a point where he is intimating that he's willing to be bought out for the right price. And his price is for them to give him a $1.50 out of the $5 head tax that he was authorized to be able to recover, but now he is going to have to give up to these new people who will run and control his venture. So he wants back part of that. That they will not countenance, they will not give him. They will not give him an old gravy trail for no long period of time on their dime. So that particular contractual thing that Mr. Feinstein had in his current contract, these guys are not going to subordinate and give him back no $1.50 out of that $5 off of everybody that comes to their facility when they get it from him. What they're going to do is that the people that are people from Honduras and the bank and all of them put together and the President Belizean cabal that has been working against Mr. Feinstein, what they're going to do is that they have enough resource available to them to pay Mr. Feinstein what he's asking for, but they will not pay him what he's asking for, which is about $100 million. Whether it be 100 million Belize or 100 million US. Because people like to talk in dollars and then they change the conversation and say, well, they weren't talking in certain denomination, certain, they were talking in, like Mr. Barrow and Mr. Ashcroft did the last time. When they gone and make the agreement and then Mr. Barrow turned around and tell Mr. Ashcroft turned around and tell Mr. Barrow, well, that's the United States will make the talk and that they will make the contract and we may talk about dollars. So I expect to be paid in American dollars, not Belizean dollars. And then the rest of that part, they cost us twice as much because, 2 Belize for 1 American. I'm just saying that these people that are behind this whole shenanigan in depriving Mr. Feinstein of his project are in a position to pay him off what he's asking for or to force him to compromise and pay him a little less than what he's asking for, but enough payment to get rid of him and get him out of the way. Because the people that are in this process are billionaires. You're talking about multi-billionaires, hundreds of billions of dollars. So a little pittance, $100 million, whether it be Belizean or American to them, is insignificant. So he will be bought out. At some point, the whole process will be terminated. The matter will not go to court because if he try to carry the matter to court, he still will not get more than what he is asking for initially anyhow to settle. So those people have top lawyers on their part. The government have top lawyers on their part. The banks have top lawyers. There's a lot of top lawyers to be bought or to be used in any of these transactions. And the way these things normally work out is that somebody gets to burn and the money is paid. Every one of them have a price and the right price is paid to the right person and the matter is settled and done with. Okay? That's how it's going to end up. But I am afraid that we're setting a wrong precedence then by doing that, because the government can then turn around and say, okay, well, just about any other property in this country or any other business in this country, they can put their foot on, take away that private business from that private entity, and give it to whoever among themselves or any other third party that they want. That's a bad precedence, and it will put Belize not only as a narco state, but it will put Belize
Mr. Brackett, if
as
I
a
may.
state that is a pariah among the nations. Are you, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. Before I
You're
go
welcome,
to
sir.
you, Mr. Brackett, let me specify this to the people at home and abroad. The government can take private property for private investors on one condition: they must amend the Eminent Domain Act and put in it for development, economic development. That is what the Eminent Domain Act should have said. Then you can have private investors come in.
Mr. Chairman, I agree
Go
with
ahead,
you that they
sir.
can write what they want to write, but I'm disagreeing with you that if they make an illegal move, if it's illegal according to our constitution, and therefore them making it, even if it's 100% of them, all on UP side and all the UDP, all of them gang up together and make any particular law that is unconstitutional, it still remains unconstitutional. That is the system in which we live. And therefore, that is the basis on which the government, when it went with the BSI, ESR, issued to court, lost that case. Because you just cannot go and willy-nilly hamstrung the laws or play with the laws to achieve an objective that is unconstitutional, is my point. And therefore, that's why they lost that case. Mr. Smith was faster on his foot than them, and therefore he won a case that he should have lost. Because the government is empowered to make laws within the Constitution. Whenever they go outside the Constitution, it's null and void. Of course, if we get the right judge. But if we get a judge like what we had the last time, with this other case where the Constitution was being queried, you can also have a misguided or wrong interpretation of facts or conclusions in throwing out a case that was alive and valid by a judge. They're entitled to doing that, but you got to then go above that particular judge to have them overruled by, you know, uh, having a review of their case at the higher court, a court higher than that level. But I will not belabor or keep arguing. The point is well established, and what you were saying is correct, Mr. Chairman. They can amend all they want, which thing they want, but when it comes to constitutional muster, they have to pass it. If it doesn't pass constitutional muster, they just can continue making all the changes they want, as they have been doing, and keep on losing their cases.
Let me activate the scroll banner so people at home and abroad can understand precisely what I'm saying. And I hope the government will take a look at it.
They are precedents, and you're
Because
correct.
what it says, government of Belize can take private property for private investors in the name of economic development, but must amend the Eminent Domain Act. In other words, using this, there would have been no problem under the compulsory for upsell, because Belize will then gain through tourism. But because they jumped the gun and did not do that, we are having this talk right now and this issue. They have instead used executive power unconstitutionally.
Trying to bully
And
rank the
let me
process.
run the scroll banner. I go to you, Mr. Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well said. Leonard, well said. Just as how I see it,
You're welcome, sir.
you know, it's all about, these people, they will do anything and whatever it takes to achieve their objective, to get what they want. Um, you see that I've said before, the people who they bully reg and a lot of things that they have done that is unconstitutional and that should be shocking off. What they do it? No, they still use it against the people,
Mm-hmm.
right? See the length that they went to and involving the people, right? Again, to get what they want. Although in their mind, they're only going to use that name for the people, right? But they have a total different agenda, and who dare take them to court? Who will hold these people to test? As for me, I have a big problem with our justice system. That's me, right? Some fair and a lot is unfair. We see some rulings handed down that we know outrightly it's not the way it should have been, right? But who are we to hold these people to task because we don't have the money to take them to court and tell them, you know, what they are doing wrong, right? So it's all about just a big hustle. And they're, again, like I said, they're hustling off the backs of the Belizean people and their natural resources, right? And it's not the first time. I will just flip back a little bit. Who could remember in telco? This kind of business have been going on for decades. Right, guys? Right, Leonard?
Yes, sir.
Typical example. And who hold this? And the sad story is, and I will end here, is that it's not their money. So they don't give a hoot. Right?
Exactly.
And then hopefully you hear the saying it will fly over like a little breeze. A lot of the time, 98% of the time it does. Fly over like a little breeze. Who have gotten hooked with Intelco? Who have been held accountable with
Nobody.
for Intelco? Nobody. So that's just a little sober reminder.
The money just
In my
disappear.
book, the fleecing continue, Leonard and Mr. Chairman. The fleecing continue. These guys, past and present government, has no goodwill. No goodwill. Right? They're all about a bunch of, I'll use the word, kleptocrats, right?
That's good.
Businessmen who want to come up
The big hustle.
fast,
That's
rich,
what I'm saying.
right? And all on the backs again of the Belizean taxpayers, always on their natural resources, because most of the time it has something to do with land.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, this two-party system, nothing will change with them. We need a new entity to come in and just change the narrative. Bring back everything back to the people. Everything back to the people.
Send some
Until
advance
then,
here.
these people will, Mr. Chairman and Greg, and for my viewers and listeners, this two-party system of governance, they are already power drunk, set in their own drunkenness in doing the things that they do to us, because no one hold them accountable. This one leave office tomorrow, that book stays, the other one come back, sit down in that seat and pick up that book and carry on the same shenanigans, right? The same thing. The other, when they leave, the other one come back, but back and forth, and just pick up that Bible that they have there that they work by. That's why I call for that man, Mr. Joseph Wait.
Wait. Not
In my
Wade.
book,
Mr. Wade, not Wade. Remember one
not
time
Wade.
you corrected me?
Please, Wait. Waight. Right? Not Wade. That man should have been long gone. That man
No,
is
no,
bad for
no.
this country
You know where the
in the
skeletons are?
financing affairs of this country. That's a very bad man in my book. He needs to go. Don't tell me you cannot find a replacement, but why they cannot find a replacement? They don't want to find a replacement. He is good with both parties. He cooks the books. If you listen to how that man talk, huh? But anyway, and that's a relative to George Price. He's dead and gone, and he is still there, right? Who put him there? George Price, may he rest in peace. Joseph Wade is still there. You know, have another person in this country who could run that book like Mr. Joseph Wade. So sad. I hope and pray that someday we will have a new entity, a new system, that these shenanigans will never happen, right? And we return the country back to its rightful owner, which is the people, the Belizean people.
Some of them
Back
need to
to
go to
you,
jail too, though.
be held
Thank
accountable. They
you,
all
thank
need
you,
to be held
Mr. Wade.
accountable.
I also want the people to understand private commercial space is not a public use. So when this Honduran company takes over this port, it will be a
Sad.
private commercial port. It cannot be considered public use.
And the
So as I
extent,
said
Mr. Chairman,
before,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Chairman, and the extent that this Briceño administration went and will willing to go just to facilitate that foreign entity. The extent that he will go. Sad.
Mr. Chairman, um, today there was a broadcasting, I think, on I think it was Channel 5, if I'm not mistaken, Open Your Eyes, and the Prime Minister was on there.
Channel 5.
And I get the idea that he was stipulating that one of the partners that's involved in this grand venture that they want to bring in now, because apparently the Honduran company is not the only company that's going to get involved. They were just the means to an end. Apparently there are bigger fishes out there that these guys are trying to hook into. And one of them is a big, what he called, the Prime Minister in his own word, container shipper. Big company. And that this company has resource. Remember you guys, I told you earlier tonight in the same discussion that some of the people that are involved behind the scene are multi-billionaires. They're not just multi-millionaires. So Mr. Feinstein could get bought over easily by these people and get pushed out the way without this matter end up in court. Okay, the Prime Minister's own word validates that. So people can go back and check for themselves and pay attention to what I'm saying and see if I'm talking crap or if I don't know what the hell I talk about. Because most people, unless they see something on news, and even when they see it on news, they don't believe it sometimes. Or sometimes it just go over their head and not settle in on.
That's why we show and tell, Leonard, all the time.
So for those or for who cares, they can go back and find that item on today's broadcasting for Open Your Eyes on Channel 5. Compare what the Prime Minister is stipulating about this new entity that they're trying to get involved. That is the shipping container company that ship containers, one of the world's biggest entity. to bring into our Belize port. Please pay attention to what we had to say. Here we had to say. I stopped talking about Mr. Feinstein a few minutes ago, and I'm on a different subject right now. And a lot of people must think I'm on the same world subject with Mr. Feinstein. And I try telling you, giving you a heads up, bigger fishes, bigger powers that easily suborn small countries like ours are being invited into the fray. And when the big sharks are getting teaching of we, the como se digo, Belizean, please wake up.
Mr. Brackett,
Please wake
if
up.
I may,
Yes, sir.
let me say this. Using executive power to do legalized blackmail is a crime, and it is a white collar crime. How do you use it to do legalized blackmail? You threaten Mr. Feinstein under compulsory takeover
Exactly.
so that he will come to the table and want to sell, when
Exactly.
you should not have got between two private entities. And if he wanted to sell,
They should have
wait
gone to court.
until the court case is over and then let
Exactly.
him decide to do that. That is what you
That's the way
call
it's. That's the constitutional way.
legalized blackmail.
Mr.
Serious,
Chairman, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Wade.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman, before I go to Mr. Wade, can I close out my last thought there just now on the same point that I
yes,
was?
go ahead, sir.
Why I brought up about the port, I'm talking not about the Feinstein port, nor am I talking about the Ashcroft port, nor am I talking about the one,
Portico.
Portico. I'm talking about our Belizean port that Mr. Ashcroft had in receivership, that we now currently have, and that these jackals, hyenas, and bastards are trying to privatize again. Every damn thing we have in this country, those idiots and the PUP found Mr. Musa when they went to the IMF to ask for money, and IMF recommended to them that they need to get rid of some of their national national assets and privatize them in order to raise the funds that they needed to pay our civil service and our government. They have never stopped selling our assets, including stealing some of our assets for themselves. But now they want to bring another big, powerful player, international player, for red for we eye, and for try swipe front of we face to say, well, these are reputable big corporation that we need to turn over all national assets and patrimony to, so that they can make money and we get none. Because they don't pay no taxes, they don't pay nothing, they don't contribute anything to the economy. They are extractors. All they do is take out. They don't contribute or help. So why the hell is Briceño and his cabal proposing any idea to bring in anybody to take over we port what we just get back from Mr. Ashcroft by paying $400 million for? That money of $400 million could have been the enough week offers right now, the help we country pay some of the bills that we need to pay, such as the teachers, the salary, the retirees, them, and all other accounts. And these guys are saying, oh, they're managing our country and our economy is so good. Then they rip way off. And we turn around and suck with finger and sit down on the dodo. We do not want to have our port privatized again to no other entity. We want that port to make the same money where they make, and maybe more, for us. But it can't happen when you have the same Mr. Tux Vasquez, they run it as if they run it for Mr. Ashcroft. And for the Prime Minister, they pretend that, well, it's no big deal, because he and Mr. Ashcroft, they're in a business, in a smart. Even though he vexed the man. Mr. Ashcroft won majority share and still the power play the Prime Minister. And by doing that, the power play with the Belizean people, and they set we up in a situation where he's still deriving additional benefits. And may yet turn around and buy back BTL when this present government finish crash it. Because that's what they are doing with it, trying to crash it. They're not trying to make it available to successfully compete against Mr. Ashcroft and Smart. They want it crushed so that Smart become the new BTL. And then they'll sell what's left of BTL to the SMART organization under Mr. Ashcroft. And Mr. Ashcroft wind up the one both BTL and SMART and what used to be Intelco. By the way, I yield back, Mr. Chairman. People Belizean, got to start tie these ends up and learn and understand what's going on and put the pressure where it needs to be. Stop the player games and they have these guys bound to vote for any 10, 20, 50, 30 or $100 or 200 or 500 or even $1,000 because your patrimony is worth billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. We have oil to the tune of $3 trillion in our country. They're not telling you that. Then they tell them how they want to get the power and how they want to railroad into allowing foreigners to come and extract free assets and resources while then they get money kicked back on the side. How do you think Holy Redeemer became so massive, even bigger than some banks in the country? Wake up, learn and understand and know no business. Take care of the business. Nobody can take care of it for you. Stop having these hijinks politicians they run roughshod over us. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. I have a lot more to say about these
Thank you.
issues.
Mr. Wade, I go to you
Coming shows.
for your comment and the closing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Leonard.
You're welcome, sir.
And I just hope that what you have just said open up some of the youngsters in this country, open up their eyes. Because some of the older heads know exactly what you're talking about, Leonard, right?
I hope so. And I presume that they do.
So, Greg, thank you for, explaining and showing, show and tell, right? And I just hope that, our viewers and listeners take away something again from our program tonight. And I say this to say that past government, how they rip off the country and get rich, some of them, build road, roundabout, road was the thing. I will not say much on that, right? Because, that was the thing. PUP come in a power lately, and when I started roundabout and road, I mean the thing too, but no. They find out now that tourism, so they scrap now the road and forget about building roads now,
Mm-hmm.
Then they build roads on our seas now.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, right? That they the focus 190-degree turn now to our natural resources out there because other, like you said, Leonard, big fishes, billionaires
Sir,
have eyes set on this country.
The roads on the sea is part of what America has just declared us as a narco state about. Okay? Because that's what those roads are for.
Okay.
Not for me and you if we transit from here to Mexico. We don't do that through Chickamauga. Okay?
I laugh because
But these guys don't know that other people know their business.
Mr.
Chairman
Chairman
leave this country and go out abroad on Belizean business
and
they know get to come back to their country.
Leonard and Mr. Chairman, I applaud you guys always to be able to see through these kleptocrats. And we could talk about it because we did talk truth. 190-degree turn now from dealing with the affairs of the people, well-being of the people, the economic situation of the people, for the affairs now turn on the high seas. Sad. And to the extent of using the poor people in the name of we do this for the Belizean people. When they know darn right that they know to their heart. The truth is that they're only using the Belizean people to get what they want. And until then, like I say, it will never stop. We see it. These very same things that are playing out. We talk about this, Greg and Leonard. We talk about these things that are happening now, right? Because we see it coming. So I just hope that the Belizean people eyes are open, and I just hope that the diaspora hope and pray that they see these people for who they are when they sit in this town hall meeting and start to call these guys out, right? And start to hold them accountable when they go with their hands out there stretching out, or with the lies in these town hall meetings, because they don't mean a damn thing when they tell you no lies. They don't mean good, right? So I just hope that on the city's people for who they are, hold them accountable, right? Because it's so sad, and we see the repetitious cycle, Mr. Chairman and Leonard, the way these people continue to do on to the Belizean people, and they get away with it. That's my thing, they get away with it, right? So I call on the Belizean people to make a change. The country need UNO now, because some crucial things they happen in our country where affect UNO dearly, right? And not to mention we
For a
are
long time to
awaiting
come.
the decision from the ICJ. That's not done yet, right? So some very crucial things is ahead of us that will inflict some pain to Belizeans, right? To our loved ones, to our children, and children, right? So, see these people for who they are. This is a crucial time now to strike, to stop these people from the bullrigging and from the connivingness and from the evil things that they are doing, right? Find in your area independent thinkers, people who know they think like the UDP and the PUP, this two-party system, who they think about change, real meaningful change. Go to these people, support these people, if on a love, on a country, and on a children, right? There is a new entity on the horizon pretty soon, will break news, and the name of it is the Belizean Justice Movement. Belizean Justice Movement. So I call on the nation of Belize to come out, support this entity. This is the only entity that will change Belize and change your life. Not the UDP nor the PUP in the next election. Mr. Chairman, and it's always a pleasure to sit in your company. Leonard, it's always a pleasure to sit in your company, because we speak truth
Same here, sir.
and we are about people and nation. And to our viewers and listeners at home and abroad, thank you for supporting us, for sharing, for spreading the news. Things that we talk about really affect our Belizean people, man. We are the only opposition on this Belizean Affairs show. We are at our 103rd edition, and our show is all about our people and nation and betterment for the country. So, Chairman, I thank you. It's always a pleasure. Leonard, thank you. Say good night.
Welcome, sir. God bless. Good
Good
night.
night, people at home and abroad. Thank you.